Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be taking a look at the harm missile. So I'm going to go ahead and unpause immediately, and normally what I would do of course is I get everything all kind of set up and fly down. But unfortunately we're dealing with something that can shoot back this time, so we want to be very, very cautious. So whenever I'm doing any sort of work with seed, I always like to make sure I can see the search radars that are looking at me. In this case we've got none locking onto us. And we want to go ahead and make sure the weapon is ready to go. So I always like to do this, just of course I have it. I'm going to come down here, I'm going to go ahead and press my air-to-ground mode. You've got my harm, and I'm going to go ahead and press power on, which is going to get this thing nice and warmed up for us. On my left side MFD, I'm going to go to test. We're going to go bop over to the weapon page, and this is going to bring us to the weapon page. Now, this is an interesting display. Basically, what you're doing is seeing what the weapon itself can see. If it says not soy, by the way, that simply means you have to make the S active. Now, what we can see here is this is how long it's going to take to scan. This is how many scans I've taken. This lets me start a new scan. Down here, it lets me select which one of my two harms I have. Keep in mind, I have two at this particular point. And this down here is a table of everything that I'm interested in looking at. First thing we can do is we can shrink the scan so it concentrates in the middle. We can make it on the left side, we can make it on the right side, or we can make it in wide mode. Generally, the way I use this is I use my RWR to find something. Once I do that, I switch to tight mode and I actually lock on. On the left side, these are all the threats we're currently scanning for. Obviously, we got an SA-10, we have a big bird radar, clamshell radar, everything along those lines. If I click on this button, I change what I'm looking for. If I press it again, I'm looking for a different one. In today's flight, we're only going to be interested in SA-15s, but of course, we're going to have to trick it into turning its radar on so we can actually shoot at it. I'm going to go ahead and freeze myself here. Give myself a little bit of power, and I'm just going to sort of slowly work my way down into that zone. Apparently, they're not happy that somebody keeps dropping heavy munitions all over their bridge, so they've assigned a little bit of air defense to the purposes of making things interesting for me. You got to make it fun for me once in a while. Now, on the fancy pants version of the F-16, you actually have something called a harm targeting system, which is this magic pod that not only will be able to target the harms for you, but it'll even do things like calculate your flight profiles. It's an amazing weapon. Now, another thing you have to watch out for with the harm is the fact that even though the weapon is very, very good, it can be shot down. So certain types of systems, you can't just fire one harm at you, you have to fire a couple. One fun strategy is you can actually have a teammate go ahead and basically ferret it and trick it into firing, and then quickly follow up with another harm. The other thing you can do too is you can trick something into shooting, dive behind a mountain, and dump a harm on it. There's a lot of really, really serious siege strategy involved with it. But again, we're just going to kind of descend down to the target region and see if we can trick that SA-15 into giving us an angry glance. Now remember, an SA-15 is a short-range system. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to click on the search button, and I'm going to shut everything off except that particular system. It's going to give me a little bit quicker turnaround time there. Switch to center. Now it only takes 3 seconds per scan, which is going to be great. My power is turned on, master arm is on. Again, there's no self-protection mode in this particular aircraft. You basically just are going to have to jam on it the first chance you get. Alright, again, like I said, the maximum altitude for that particular weapon is pretty tight. We're kind of zooming in here real fast. Obviously, take advantage of the energy your aircraft has. If you suddenly get a warning, don't panic, because as soon as we see his radar, we can immediately start engaging with our weapons. If he does not turn his radar on, we have no shot on him, unless, of course, we switch over to, like, Mavericks or something like that. Or we just want to run down there and start shooting at or something like that. Speed up time a little bit here as we continue our descent. We're starting to get a little low. Remember, the lower you are, the easier time they're going to have to be able to identify and whack you. There's the SA-15 warning. Oh, did you see it? All right, we've got a tracking radar warning. We're going to lock onto him directly. Again, you just want to do this the same way you always do. Lock onto him. And we're going to fire weapon away. And he's already launched at us. Engage defensive. We're going to drive that weapon right into the ground. Notice the turnaround time for that weapon was literally seconds. There's my harm. Wham! And that's the end of that. So as you can see, those SAM systems have no warning. It's just suddenly beep, 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 and all of a sudden you have something moving 2 times the speed of sound, ripping through you, trying to cut you down to teeny tiny pieces. Go ahead and I'll bring myself out of that little tight turn. Oh, and I see that there's a fire over there. So, we'll add a little bit of insult to injury here. Air to ground mode, we'll switch to strafe, and we'll go come say hi. As you can see, the weapon worked perfectly. The SA-15 that took the pot shot at me was too busy being an SA-15, and obviously not taking enough time to realize that it had already been launched on. It really should have engaged my weapon, which is why a lot of times you'll see these guys come in pairs so that they can defend themselves better. And yes, I have labels turned on because it makes things a little bit easier. There we go. Zoom in on this guy. We got to finish the job. That should make my point. Goodbye. Haha. Alright, hopefully this video is helpful as far as working with it. One thing you can do is actually build custom tables if you want. To do that, you're going to have to press the UFC button. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring up this little screen here that now you can navigate through the different numbers. There's a great online guide which will tell you which numbers mean what radar if you need to have a custom setup. Other than that, enjoy.